Before the final awakening of the chosen, there is always a shaking, a storm, a fire that seems almost unbearable. It feels like the heavens close, like the prayers hit a wall, like silence has taken over. But in truth, it is the silence before the trumpet, the stillness before the unveiling. The chosen ones know this weight, the isolation that presses in, the betrayals that cut deeper than swords, the strange battles that rise without warning. It is not punishment, it is preparation. It is the stripping of the old so that the new may be born. It is the shaking of foundations so that destiny may stand unshakable. When the darkness presses hardest, when the soul feels pressed to breaking, it is the sign that the awakening is near. For before the chosen step into the fullness of their calling, they must walk through the fire that proves them, the silence that humbles them, and the battle that crowns them. The shaking before the rising, there comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the ground begins to tremble beneath their feet. Life as they knew it starts to shift, foundations once secure begin to crack, and everything that seemed unshakable is suddenly unstable. This is not coincidence, nor is it chaos without purpose. It is what I call the shaking before the rising. It is the mysterious but necessary movement of heaven that loosens you from the things you once clung to, so that you may stand only on what cannot be moved. The shaking does not come gently. It is not a whisper, but a roar. It comes in storms, in disappointments, in doors slamming shut without warning. The relationships you thought would last forever suddenly dissolve. The jobs, opportunities, or dreams you thought were your destiny suddenly collapse. And you wonder, why is everything breaking down? Why does it feel like life itself is unraveling? But the chosen must learn a truth that few ever grasp. The breaking down is the very act of God making room for the building up. What looks like ruin is actually foundation work for glory. When the shaking begins, it exposes what was false, what was temporary, and what could never sustain you. Many think they are ready to carry destiny, but destiny is too heavy to be carried on weak beams and cracked walls. The chosen must be stripped, tested, and rebuilt on something eternal. The shaking is heaven's way of severing your attachment to things that cannot last. And though it feels like loss, it is in fact mercy. For if God did not shake it away, you would hold onto it forever, and it would hinder your rising. Look at the patterns throughout time. Every chosen vessel endured a season of violent shaking before they rose. Joseph was shaken out of his home and thrown into a pit, betrayed by his own brothers. David was shaken from the comfort of the pasture into the wilderness, hunted by Saul. Esther was shaken from obscurity into the tension of a royal court. And even the disciples themselves were shaken when their teacher was taken from them. The shaking precedes the rising, because the rising requires the removal of everything that cannot endure the weight of destiny. The chosen must understand this mystery. The shaking is not a sign of abandonment, it is a sign of closeness. When heaven draws near to elevate you, it first removes the foundations that were too small for your future. It feels cruel, but it is compassion in disguise. God does not want you to rise on the shaky scaffolding of man's approval, false alliances, or fragile systems. He wants you to rise on the unshakable rock of his calling. And so he shakes until nothing remains but the eternal. In the midst of the shaking, the enemy whispers lies. He tells you that you are being punished, that you are being forgotten, that your future is destroyed. But these are distortions meant to blind you to the truth. The shaking is proof that your rising is near. The enemy does not fight what has no future. He wars against what carries destiny. If you feel the quake under your feet, it is because heaven has marked you and hell has noticed. The shaking also comes to awaken what is dormant in you. Some of the greatest strengths, gifts, and callings within you will never rise until the comfort around you is removed. Comfort is the enemy of growth, and stagnation is the enemy of destiny. So the chosen must endure the discomfort of being unsettled. It is in the storm that you discover the anchor. It is in the shaking that you discover the foundation that cannot be moved. Think of the seed planted deep in the earth. Before it rises, it must be broken. Its shell must crack, its form must split, and it must endure the crushing darkness of the soil. Only then can it push upward into the light. The seed does not die in vain. The breaking is the birth. So it is with the chosen ones. What feels like breaking is actually birthing. What feels like an end is actually a beginning. The shaking also teaches discernment. In times of shaking, false people fall away. Those who stood near you for what you had rather than who you are will not survive the quake. Those who carried hidden jealousy, betrayal, or ill intent are exposed and removed. Painful as it is, this is protection. The chosen must be surrounded only by those aligned with their rising, not those who would sabotage it. The shaking clears the path so that when you rise unhindered. But here is the hidden glory of the shaking. While everything else moves, there is one thing that remains still. The presence of God does not shake. His promises do not collapse. His word does not tremble. In the storm, when everything else is falling, he becomes the only ground under your feet. And it is then, in the midst of trembling, that you discover the true secret of strength, the unshakable presence of the one who called you. Chosen ones must therefore not resist the shaking, but embrace it. Do not cling to what heaven is removing. Do not mourn for what was never meant to remain. Do not curse the quake that comes to free you. Instead, lift your eyes above the storm and recognize the pattern. You are not being buried, you are being planted. You are not being destroyed, you are being prepared. You are not being forsaken, you are being elevated. And here lies the final mystery. The greater the shaking, the higher the rising. Small callings require small tests, but great callings require great shaking. If your life feels like it has been shattered in every direction, it is not because you are forgotten. It is because your rising will not be small. The chosen endure greater storms because their destiny requires greater strength. The shaking before the rising is heaven's way of building within you a foundation that no storm, no enemy, no betrayal, and no darkness can ever destroy. So endure, chosen one. Do not fear the trembling earth beneath your feet. Do not lose heart when the walls fall, when the doors close, when the storm howls. For what you see as collapse is the very stage being set for your unveiling. The shaking is the prelude, the rising is the destiny, and when it comes, the world will see what heaven was preparing all along, that you were never breaking down, you were always breaking through. The silence of heaven, there comes a season in the journey of the chosen when the heavens grow quiet. The prayers that once felt like fire seem to return unanswered. The presence that once felt near feels distant. The visions that once stirred the soul grow still, and in this silence, the chosen one begins to wonder, has God left me? Has he turned away? Has my calling been forgotten? This is the silence of heaven. And though it feels like abandonment, it is not rejection. It is the sacred pause before revelation. It is the hidden chamber of God where he prepares you for the next unveiling. The silence of heaven is one of the most difficult tests for the chosen because it does not come with explanation. When storms rage, you can see the winds. When betrayals come, you can name the faces. But when heaven goes quiet, you hear nothing and you see nothing. It is the stillness that tests the deepest part of your faith. It is the furnace of trust. Will you hold to the word when there is no new word? Will you cling to his promises when his voice is still? Will you walk in obedience when the map has gone blank? The silence of heaven is the place where the chosen are refined into unshakable vessels. Consider this mystery. Even creation knows the pattern of silence before glory. Before the dawn, the night is its darkest. Before a seed bursts forth, the soil grows heavy and still. Before a child is born, there is a quiet in the room before the cry. So it is with the chosen. The silence is not emptiness, it is expectancy. The heavens are not ignoring you. They are holding back, building up, until the appointed moment of release. But the silence is never easy. It strips you of the false supports you once leaned on. In the silence, no man's voice can guide you, no applause can affirm you, no outward sign can comfort you. It is there that you realize destiny is not sustained by feelings but by faith. Feelings come and go like waves, but faith is the anchor that holds in the unseen, and the silence of heaven is the classroom where faith is taught not by words, but by the absence of them. The prophets knew this silence. Elijah called down fire from heaven, but later found himself in a cave, waiting, broken, hearing no voice. Moses climbed the mountain, but there were days of cloud and silence before the glory descended. Even the Messiah himself endured silence in the wilderness, tempted, tested, with no angel to rescue, no voice to comfort, only the word hidden within. The chosen must pass through this same silence, for it is the pattern of all who carry eternal callings. In the silence of heaven, the enemy often speaks louder. He fills the void with lies. He says, "You are forgotten, you are abandoned, your prayers mean nothing, your future is over." These whispers aim to take advantage of the stillness, to turn silence into despair. But the chosen must discern the difference between the silence of God and the noise of the enemy. One is emptiness, the other is deception. God's silence does not mean absence, it means preparation. He is still working, still moving, still aligning the unseen, even when your ears hear nothing. Think of an artist working on a masterpiece. There are moments of loud creation, of brushstrokes and movement, but then comes a pause, a silence. The canvas rests, but the artist is not idle. He is stepping back, considering, planning the next move. So it is with God. His silence is not inactivity, it is strategy. He is perfecting what concerns you, aligning what you cannot see, preparing the next brushstroke of your destiny. The silence of heaven also reveals your motive. Do you seek God for what he gives or for who he is? Do you pursue him only when his voice is loud, or do you love him even in the stillness? Many fall away in the silence because their devotion was tied to experience rather than relationship. But the chosen are refined in this furnace, learning to love God not for his gifts, but for his presence, even when his presence feels hidden. In the silence, patience is born. The chosen must learn that destiny unfolds not on human timelines, but on divine ones. Impatience leads to Ishmael, but patience births Isaac. Those who cannot endure the silence often run ahead of God and create their own answers. But those who wait discover that the silence was not delay, but design. For when God finally speaks, when he finally moves, the silence makes the word thunder louder than ever before. There is a mystery hidden here. The silence of heaven is often followed by the sound of shaking. Just before breakthrough, just before rising, the silence comes like the calm before the storm. Do not mistake the stillness for emptiness. It is the womb of destiny. The chosen are like seeds in the soil, buried in darkness, silent, unseen. But beneath the surface, life is stirring. The silence is not the end, it is the prelude to the rising. The chosen must not despise this season, but embrace it. For in the silence, you discover the God who does not need to speak to still be faithful. You discover the word already spoken is enough. You discover the strength within you that was hidden until silence drew it out. And when the silence finally breaks, when the voice comes, when the promise manifests, when the heavens open, you will look back and understand the silence was not punishment but preparation. So if you are walking through the silence of heaven, take heart. Do not let the absence of sound shake your confidence in his love. Do not let the stillness convince you that your prayers have gone unheard. Do not let the quiet cause you to question your calling, for silence is often the loudest sign that heaven is working behind the veil. The chosen always pass through silence before they step into glory, and here is the final truth. The silence of heaven is temporary. The same God who seemed silent will one day thunder with answers. The same heavens that felt shut will open with fire. The same heart that wondered, "Where are you?" will one day testify, "Surely he was with me all along." The silence is not forever. It is only the shadow before the sunrise. And when the dawn comes, the chosen will rise, not shaken by the silence, but strengthened by it, ready to carry the destiny that waits on the other side. The furnace of isolation, there is a hidden season that every chosen one must endure, and it is not spoken of often because it is lonely, painful, and misunderstood. It is the season of isolation. This is not the kind of loneliness that comes from people simply walking away. It is a divine separation, a sacred cutting, a furnace of fire where the chosen are pulled out from the crowd and set apart for a greater purpose. To the outside world, it looks like rejection, abandonment, even failure. But to heaven, it is preparation. It is the furnace of isolation, the place where the chosen are stripped of distractions, emptied of false attachments, and molded into vessels of destiny. Isolation is never comfortable. It feels like exile, like being forgotten in the wilderness. The people who once celebrated you vanish. The voices that once affirmed you go silent. The friends you thought would walk with you suddenly distance themselves. And you are left asking, "Why has everyone left me? Why does it feel like I am invisible? Why has God hidden me?" But the truth is that isolation is not punishment. It is protection. It is the shield of heaven drawing you away from voices that could drown your calling, from people who could sabotage your rising, and from influences that could corrupt your destiny. Every great vessel was pulled into the furnace of isolation before they stepped into the fullness of their calling. Joseph was stripped from his family and thrown into prison, forgotten for years. Moses was exiled into the desert, tending sheep in obscurity before leading a nation. David was hunted and forced into caves, separated from the throne that was already promised to him. Even the Messiah himself withdrew to lonely places, fasting, praying, and standing in solitude before facing his mission. The chosen cannot escape this pattern because isolation is heaven's training ground. In the furnace of isolation, you learn what you could never learn in the noise of the crowd. You learn the sound of God's whisper. You learn the weight of silence. You learn to pray without applause, to worship without witnesses, to believe without proof. In isolation, your faith is no longer tied to the approval of others. It becomes anchored in the unseen. This is why the furnace feels so hot, so heavy, so unbearable. It is burning away every crutch, every dependency, every false security, until you are left with nothing but God Himself. Isolation also reveals who truly belongs in your life. When you are chosen, not everyone can go with you. Some are seasonal, some are assignments, some are distractions disguised as companions. In the furnace, these connections are tested. Those who were with you for comfort will disappear. Those who were with you for gain will leave when the gain is gone. Those who were with you in pretense will show their true colors, and though it wounds your heart, it frees your destiny. For the chosen cannot rise surrounded by weights that were never meant to ascend. But perhaps the hardest part of isolation is not the absence of people. It is the silence of misunderstanding. Few will understand why you had to pull back. Few will see why doors shut against you. Few will know the weight of what you carry. They will call it failure, exile, or weakness. They will whisper that you have lost favor, but you must remember, isolation is not exile from God's presence. It is entry into His inner chambers. He hides you because He loves you. He isolates you because he treasures you, and though men may not see you, heaven has its eyes fixed on you. In the furnace of isolation, the enemy will often try to twist the narrative. He will whisper, "You are forgotten. No one sees you. Nothing will ever change. You are stuck here forever." But you must discern the lie, for isolation is not permanent. It is seasonal. It is the chrysalis before the butterfly, the cave before the crown, the desert before the destiny. You are not buried, you are planted, and in the stillness of isolation, unseen roots are growing that will sustain you when you rise into visibility. Do not despise the furnace. Fire feels destructive, but fire is also purifying. In isolation, your motives are purified, your vision is clarified, your heart is refined. The things you thought you needed, you discover you can live without. The dreams you thought were yours, you learn to surrender back to God. The ego, the pride, the striving, all of it is burned away until only pure calling remains. Isolation makes you dangerous to the enemy because it kills the need for validation and replaces it with unshakable faith. Think of the goldsmith refining precious metal. The fire must be hot, the process must be painful, but the impurities rise to the surface. Only then does the gold shine pure. The furnace of isolation is that fire for the chosen. What rises out of it is not weakness, but strength, not despair, but resilience, not doubt, but unwavering conviction. When you emerge from the furnace, you no longer need the crowd because you carry the presence. You no longer seek validation because you know you are chosen. You no longer fear being alone because you know you were never alone. The furnace also prepares you for stewardship. Many desire platforms, influence, and impact, but they cannot handle the weight of them. Without isolation, their identity would be tied to the opinions of others, their faith tied to applause, their vision tied to ambition. But in the furnace, these illusions die. When you step out, you carry authority, not performance. You carry presence, not pretense. You are no longer swayed by man's approval because you have already endured heaven's refining. And here lies the hidden mystery. Isolation is a gift disguised as loss. You think you have been cut off, but you have been set apart. You think you have been abandoned, but you have been chosen. You think you are hidden, but you are being prepared for unveiling. Heaven always hides what it values until the appointed time. Just as diamonds are hidden in the earth and treasures are buried beneath, so the chosen are hidden in the furnace until the fullness of time. So, chosen one, if you find yourself in the furnace of isolation, do not despair. Do not mourn the ones who left. Do not question the doors that closed. Do not fear the silence around you, for you are not forgotten. You are being formed. You are not abandoned. You are being anointed. You are not invisible. You are being incubated. And when the time comes, the furnace that seemed to consume you will be the very proof that you were forged for greatness. Endure the fire. Embrace the solitude. Let the furnace do its work. For when you emerge, you will not just rise. You will rise unshakable, unstoppable, and undeniable, carrying a destiny that could only be forged in the secret fire of isolation. The war within and without every chosen one must face a battle that is unlike any other. It is not just the war of external opposition, nor is it only the storm of inner conflict. It is both at once. It is the war within and without. This dual battlefield is the crucible where destinies are forged. On one side, the forces of darkness rise against you, betrayals, resistance, sudden attacks, strange warfare you cannot always explain. On the other side, an inner war rages, doubts, fears, insecurities, the voice that asks, am I really called? Am I strong enough? Can I endure this? The chosen do not fight on one front alone. They are stretched on two. And yet, this is not a sign of weakness. It is the mark of being set apart, for the greater the calling, the fiercer the war. The war within is often the most difficult. It is the unseen struggle of the soul, the quiet storm no one else can witness. You smile in the daylight, but at night you wrestle with shadows. You carry a promise, yet fight with disbelief. You walk with a calling, yet feel the weight of unworthiness. The chosen wrestle not just with external enemies, but with the hidden giants within their own hearts. Fear whispers that you are not enough, guilt chains you to your past, doubt questions your future, and pride lurks, tempting you to fight in your own strength instead of surrendering to God's. This war within is relentless because it is aimed at the core of your identity. If the enemy can defeat you within, he does not need to defeat you without. But the war without is no less real. The chosen attract unusual opposition. Betrayals come from unexpected places. Those you thought would walk with you suddenly rise against you. False accusations are hurled like arrows. Opportunities vanish as if unseen hands have closed them. Strange resistance meets you at every turn, and you wonder, why is the battle so intense? Why do I face storms others do not face? But the chosen must understand, the war without is proof of the war within heaven's courts. You are a vessel marked for destiny, and hell wages war to prevent what heaven has decreed. The prophets and anointed ones throughout history faced this same pattern. Joseph faced betrayal without, from his brothers, from Potiphar's wife, from the prison that tried to cage him, but he also faced a war within the temptation of despair, the pull of bitterness, the struggle to still believe in dreams when everything screamed otherwise. David faced war withouts, all hunting him, armies rising against him, enemies plotting his downfall. But he also faced war within the guilt of failure, the weight of shame, the agony of betrayal by his own household. Even the Messiah faced war without the accusations of men, the rejection of his own, the schemes of the enemy. But he also faced war within the Garden of Gethsemane, where sweat became blood, and his soul cried out under the weight of destiny. The chosen cannot escape this dual battlefield, because it is where calling is tested and sealed. The war within and without serves a higher purpose. It exposes where your trust truly lies. When you face enemies without, you learn to rely on God's protection. When you face battles within, you learn to lean on His grace. Together they strip you of self, sufficiency, and force you into surrender. You cannot conquer both wars in your own strength. The chosen must come to a place where they cry, not by might, not by power, but by your Spirit. This is why the war feels so intense, because it is designed to break your reliance on yourself and anchor you in the one who called you. Yet in the midst of this, the enemy seeks to overwhelm you by aligning the inner war with the outer. When betrayal strikes, doubt rises. When accusations come, fear grows louder. When doors close, despair presses in. This is the strategy of darkness, to use the war without to inflame the war within. But the chosen must turn the tables, use the war within to strengthen you for the war without. Use the secret place of prayer to fortify your spirit against the arrows of men. Use the word hidden in your heart to silence the whispers of fear. Use the fire of worship to burn away the heaviness of despair. When the wars collide, let the spirit within you rise to meet the battle around you. The war within and without also teaches discernment. Not every battle is yours to fight. Not every accusation is worth answering. Not every betrayal requires retaliation. The chosen must learn the art of stillness even in the storm. Some wars are won not by striking back, but by standing still and letting God fight for you. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. The war within teaches you humility. The war without teaches you dependence. Together they produce victory that is not temporary, but eternal. It is in this crucible that character is forged. You learn endurance when battles do not end quickly. You learn courage when enemies surround you. You learn faith when everything within you trembles. And though you may not see it in the moment, The wars are shaping you into a vessel strong enough to carry destiny. For a calling that will impact nations cannot be entrusted to a heart untested by fire. The chosen are not made in comfort, they are made in conflict. There is a hidden mystery here. The war within and without is not just about you. It is about what you carry. The attacks are not only against your life, but against your assignment. Hell fears what you are about to release, so it wages war to silence you before you rise. That is why the battle is fiercest just before breakthrough. When the war rages on both fronts, it is not the sign of defeat. It is the sign of nearness. You are closer than ever to the unveiling, and the resistance you feel is the enemy's last desperate attempt to keep you from stepping into it. So, chosen one, do not be dismayed by the war within and without. Do not think it strange when the battle rages on every side. Do not despair when doubts rise inside while enemies rise outside, for this is the mark of those called to greatness. If you were not chosen, there would be no war. If your destiny were not real, there would be no attack. The very existence of the battle is proof of the weight you carry, and here lies the final revelation. The war within and without will not break you, it will build you. The very battles designed to destroy you will be the battles that define you. The inner wars will teach you dependence. The outer wars will teach you resilience. Together, they will shape you into an unshakable vessel, tested on both fronts, ready to carry the glory of heaven. Endure, chosen one, stand firm in the fire. Let the inner war drive you deeper into God's presence, and let the outer war remind you of his power. For the day will come when both wars will cease, when the crown will be placed upon your head, and when you will testify, "The war did not destroy me. It prepared me, the war did not silence me. It refined me, the war did not break me. It revealed me. This is the mystery of the chosen. They are forged not in peace, but in battle. And when the war within and without is over, they rise, not as victims of war, but as victors of destiny." The birth pangs of destiny, every chosen one must walk through a season that feels like labor pains, pressing, painful, and unrelenting. It is the season where everything inside of you cries out for relief, where the weight of destiny feels almost unbearable, and where the struggle intensifies until you wonder if you can endure another step. This season is what I call the birth pangs of destiny. Just as a mother groans before new life is brought forth, the chosen groan under the weight of a calling about to break through. The pain is not without purpose. It is the proof that something is coming. The birth pangs of destiny come suddenly, and they come in waves. You thought the battle was over, but another contraction hits. You thought relief was near, but the pressure increases. Everything inside of you wants to give up, to lay down, to say, "It is too much, I cannot go on." But this is the paradox. The greatest pressure means the greatest promise is about to emerge. The birth pangs are not signs of failure. They are signs of nearness. In the natural, labor pains are not random. They are signals that the body is aligning to bring forth life. Spiritually, it is the same. The pain of the chosen is not random. The betrayals, the disappointments, the rejections, the crushing weight of trials, these are contractions. Each wave is pushing you closer to the birthing of what you were destined to release. Do not despise the contractions, for they are working for you. They are positioning you for what is to come. Yet, the birth pangs are the hardest to endure because they intensify just before the breakthrough. It is often darkest before dawn, hardest before release, heaviest before deliverance. The chosen often reach a place where they cry out, "God, where are you? Why is this happening? Why do I feel like I am being crushed?" But the crushing is the sign of new wine. The pressure is the sign of promotion. The pain is the sign of birth. If you are being pressed harder than ever before, it is because what you carry cannot be delayed any longer. Throughout Scripture, the chosen endured birth pangs before stepping into destiny. Joseph felt them in the pit, in the false accusations, in the prison chains, but every wave was pushing him closer to the palace. Moses felt them in the wilderness, in the rejection of his people, in the long years of obscurity. But each contraction brought him closer to the burning bush and the call to deliver Israel. David felt them in the caves, hunted and broken, crying tears of anguish. But each pang was pushing him toward the throne. Even the Messiah himself endured the greatest birth pangs in Gethsemane and at Calvary, groaning, weeping, sweating blood. Yet out of that agony came the birth of salvation for all mankind. The chosen cannot bypass this pattern. Destiny is always preceded by pain. The birth pangs of destiny serve to strip you of control. In labor, the mother cannot decide the timing. Her body takes over. In the same way, the chosen cannot control the timing of their birthing. You may try to rush it, but the contractions will not release until the appointed moment. You may try to resist it, but resistance only increases the pain. You may try to escape it, but the process will follow you until it is complete. The chosen must surrender, yielding to the waves, trusting that the one who began the work will bring it to completion. But here lies the danger. Many give up in the middle of the birth pangs. They mistake the intensity for failure. They think the pain means God has left them. They believe the pressure means they are being destroyed. Yet this is the deception of the enemy. He wants you to quit before the birth. He wants you to walk away just before the promise emerges. He wants you to give up when you are closest to breakthrough. But chosen one, hear this, do not quit in the pain, for the pain is proof that destiny is about to be born. The birth pangs also expose what is in you. Under pressure, what is hidden rises to the surface. In the pain, you discover faith you never knew you had. In the crushing, you discover strength you did not think you carried. In the labor, you learn endurance that cannot be taught in comfort. The pangs reveal who you are, but more importantly, they reveal who God is. For when you are at your weakest, He becomes your strength. When you are pressed beyond measure, His grace sustains you. When you cannot push any longer, His Spirit carries you. There is also a holy loneliness in the birth pangs. No one else can birth what you carry. Others can pray for you, support you, encourage you, but they cannot push for you. This is why the chosen often feel misunderstood in this season. People cannot comprehend the pressure you are under because they do not carry what you carry. Do not be discouraged when others fail to understand. They were not called to birth your destiny. You were. This pain is tailor-made for what you carry, and it is the mark of heaven's hand upon your life. And yet, here is the beauty of it. Once the birth pangs are over, the joy outweighs the sorrow. A mother does not look back at the labor with regret, because the child in her arms makes the pain worthwhile. In the same way, when your destiny is birthed, the tears, the nights of agony, the crushing pressure, they will all pale in comparison to the glory revealed. You will not even remember the pain the same way, because the promise will be so overwhelming. The very weight that almost crushed you will become the testimony that crowns you. So, chosen one, do not fear the birth pangs. Do not mistake the pressure for punishment. Do not misinterpret the pain as abandonment. For the contractions you feel are heaven's announcement. Your time is near. The intensity means the delivery is close. The waves mean the promise is ready. The pain is the proof that destiny is at the door. Endure the pangs, surrender to the process, cry if you must, groan if you must, weep if you must, but do not quit, for soon what you have carried in silence will be revealed in power. What you have travailed for in tears will be birthed in glory. And when it comes, you will testify, the pain was worth it, the pressure was worth it, the pangs were worth it, for through them destiny was born. This is the mystery of the chosen. Before their final awakening, they must groan. Before their unveiling, they must travail. Before their promise, they must endure the pangs. But when the birth is complete, nothing can compare to the life, the glory, the destiny that emerges. For the birth pangs do not last forever, but the destiny birthed through them will last for eternity.